Next up is blue. And we find the best blue card I've seen so far in the set. Vesuvan Duplimancy. Vesuvan Duplimancy. Vesuvan Duplimancy. It's hard to say. Fun to say, but hard to say. For 3 and a blue, it's an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. Whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, you copy it. You copy the target. That's pretty absurd. That's really good. That's really, really good. That's, what? Irenicus's Vile Duplication. It was 4 mana. But it was a sorcery. This is an enchantment that does nothing until you play another spell. But it's repeatable, very much so. I think this is really good. Probably an A-. Yeah, A- could be an A even. That's really good. Especially the fact that you can copy legendary creatures and they become non-legendary. Sphinx of Clear Skies, 3 and 2 blue for a 5/5 flyer with Ward 2. So 5 mana, 5/5 flyer with Ward. Yeah, these Sphinxes are always good, aren't they? It has Domain. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. An opponent separates those into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So... five mana for a 5/5 flyer is already a B+. Not an A-. Ward 2, definitely an A-. The Domain thing, where it's split the spoils, this is an A+, I think. I think it's an A+. It's an excellent card. As long as I'm the one playing it. Sphinx of Clear Skies gets an A+ in blue. Unbelievable. Let me just put my camera on here so that you all can see me. Okay, here it goes. Okay. Wait for it. Wait for it. There's... Alright, here we go. Academy Lore Master. 2 blue for a 2/3 human wizard creature. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player may draw an additional card. If they do, spells they cast this turn cost 2 more to cast. So either player can draw an additional card. They get to draw the card before you. Because you play this on your turn, you have to wait till the beginning of your draw step. So I think the best time to play this would be when it's late game. You don't have many cards in hand and your opponent has a bunch of cards in hand. So yeah, they could draw. But that would also limit the amount of spells they could play. because each spell would be 2 more to cast, which is pretty prohibitive, I think, even in the late game. Whereas, because you only have 1 card in hand, this could be like a last-ditch effort to even the score. I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting card. I'm just going to give it a C for now. 2 mana, 2/3. C. And the ability is net 0 between you and your opponent. But I could see how it could be exploited with like a control deck. Because you're controlling your opponent's mana costs for all their spells by allowing them to draw if they make that mistake. Which could give you a tempo boost. It's okay. C. Ether Channeler. 2 and a blue for a 2/1 human wizard creature. When Ether Channeler enters the battlefield, choose 1. Create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Or draw a card. 3 mana, 2/1, bounces a creature, or it's 3 mana, 3/2 worth of stats, 1/1 of which is flying. Or it's 3 mana, 2/1, draw a card, which is a Priest of Ancient Lore. That's great. This is a good card. It's uncommon. I mean, it's rare even. So you're not going to see many of these. But this is better than the Priest. And it's in blue. Yeah, it's really good. I think it's a B. I think it's a B. Ether Channel. Good stuff. So far, blue's looking good. Next up is 1 in a blue for Vodalian Hexcatcher, which is a 1/1 merfolk wizard creature with flash. Other merfolk you control get +1/+1. Sacrifice a merfolk. It has an activated ability. Sacrifice a merfolk. Counter target non-creature spell, unless its controller pays 1. How many merfolk are in this set? We haven't seen a merfolk yet. This might be bad for limited, depending on how many merfolk there are in common. Let's just scan real quickly. Merfolk. Any merfolk? There's one. There's one. There's 2. There's 3. I only see 4 merfolk. Alright, this is going to be bad. This is probably a D. Although you can sacrifice this creature. It doesn't have to be another merfolk. But yeah, 2 mana for a 1/1 that does nothing else is a F. This is a D-, I would say. Unless there's merfolk in other colors. And it's an archetype. It could be an archetype. Silver Scrutiny is next. X, colorless, blue, for a sorcery. You may cast Silver Scrutiny as though it had flash if X is 3 or less. Draw X cards. So for 5 mana, it's an instant that lets you draw 3 cards. Or you can draw as many cards as you want if you have the extra mana, but not at instant speed. So you're wasting all your mana during your turn. You won't be able to play any of the spells you just drew. But if you leave the mana up, you can play it at the end of your opponent's turn, draw 3. It's not bad. I think that's a pretty good draw spell. Especially in blue, where there's a lot of instants and flash. I'd give it a C+. It's pretty good for a draw spell. Haughty Djinn, 1 and blue for a star 4 flying creature, flying Djinn. And the Djinn's power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. There's definitely going to be a blue. I mean, we're bringing back the spell-heavy archetypes, non-creature spell-heavy archetypes. And this is an enabler for that type of archetype. So this is a build around B. Zero 4 flyer for 3 mana to start. And once you play its sorceries, just bump it up at instant speed. This is going to be a build around B. Otherwise, probably a C+. Still pretty good. Just taking a bite of rice. It's my lunch. Rice and potatoes. All carbs, all day. And I'm not fat, believe it or not. Alright, 1 blue for Vodalian Mindsinger, a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard creature. At rare. And it has 2 kickers, red and green. 1 in a red, 1 in a green. It enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it for each time it was kicked. So a total of 4 +1/+1, so it gets kicked twice. So for 7 mana, you get a 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature with power less than Vodalian Mindsinger's power for as long as you control Vodalian Mindsinger. Yeah, so 7 mana, 6/6, that steals one of your opponent's creatures is good. That's real good. And it does that no matter, you don't need to kick it. It's a 3 mana 2/2 that steals one of their power has to be less than power, so you would steal a 1 power creature, which is not great. 5 mana it would be a 4/4 that steals a 3 power creature. I think that's good. Blue, red, and green. I can't imagine there would be much sacrifice abilities, so when you steal their creature, they just have to kill this dude and they get the creature back. Oh, could be really good. I'll give it a B- for now. Definitely gets better the more you kick it. Filer of Dreams. So 3 blue for a 4/3 Phyrexian Sphinx with flying. As an additional cost to cast blue permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. They cost 1 blue less to cast. Okay. It's part of that cycle. Whenever you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card. And that's important. That's very good. Yeah, that's real good. That's really, really good. 4/3 flyer for 5. That lets you draw whenever you play another blue creature. And reduces the cost if you pay life. It's great. I think this is an A. I think this is an A. Just an A. Flat out A. The Phasing of Zalfbeard. 2 blue for a saga with read ahead. I think all the sagas have read ahead in this set. Am I wrong? I don't know. So the first and second chapter of the saga, another target non-land permanent phases out. It can't phase in for as long as you control the phasing of Zalfir. I actually forget exactly how phasing works. So you play this, it plays chapter 1, and you choose a non-land permanent to phase out. It's either yours or one of your opponents. Your turn comes around again, chapter 2 triggers, and you choose another permanent to phase out. So 2 permanents are phased out now. Your next turn comes around, chapter 3 triggers, destroy all creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, its controller creates a 2/2 black Phyrexian creature token. So this is either a finisher or protection for one of your board wipes. Although it's mainly just a finisher. Like you take out one of their creatures, you phase out one of their creatures to make way for your attack. The next turn, you get to do it again. So they can't really play a bigger, better creature because you'll just phase it out again. It's a very interesting card. I think this is fairly flexible, and you could use this in a lot of different ways. I like it. But what I was saying, I'm not sure how the phasing works after destroy all creatures. That triggers at the start of your 3rd turn, and then this saga goes in the graveyard. And the creatures that were phased out can't phase in for as long as you control this saga. But I don't think they phase in right when you destroy all creatures, after the creatures are destroyed. I don't think it phases back in until the start of your opponent's turn after your turn 3. I think that's how phasing works, but I could be wrong. Yeah, phasing of Zalfir. I think it's probably in a B. I think it's a B. I think there's a lot you can do with that. It's definitely a thinker. Untitled Scorn is next. 1 and blue for an instant. The spell costs 1 blue less to cast if an opponent casts 2 or more spells this turn. Counter target spell. So later in the game, it's only 2 mana to counter your second spell. That's good. I like that actually. Usually the counter spell is just 3 mana counter target spell, which is playable but not exciting, and is often cut. This makes it better. This makes it a lot better, I think. This will see play a lot in Limited. Yeah, counters are back in Limited. Counter spell, I mean. All right. Just take a sip of my cocktail. All right. So, Untitled Scorn for a counter spell. I think it's a C+ or even a B-. I think it's a good spell. It's good. Djinn of the Fountain is next. 4 blue for a 4/4 flying Djinn. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, choose one. This creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Exile this creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so that's cool. Or scry 1. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. That's really good. 6 mana 4/4 flyer is fine to see, but you get this flexibility and it's really good. Especially the second one and third one. Those are both really good for a non-creature spell heavy deck. Yeah, the instant speed protected from whatever removal spell your opponent's targeting it means it's hard to get rid of it. I can imagine a limited archetype heavy in non-creature spells, heavy in cheap non-creature spells, where this card plays a leading role or supporting role. Djinn of the Fountain gets a B- from me. Combat research. 1 blue for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Creature has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. As long as enchanted creature is legendary, it gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. So if you play this on a legendary creature when your opponent's tapped out early in the game, you definitely get to draw a card. Assuming it has evasion. So it replaces itself in that way. Protects your legendary creature a little bit. It's not bad, but it's not good either. I think it's a C-. I don't think this will see much play in Limited, but you never know. If it had Flash, it would see a lot of play, but it doesn't. So, C-. Or even D+, I don't know. Bellowing Mystic. 1 and a blue for a 2/1 bird wizard creature with kicker of 1 red. And it has flying. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, discard your hand, then draw 2 cards. So 3 mana, 2/1 flyer. If you're, tapped out, you have no cards left in hand, so you draw 2 cards. That's pretty good. 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer. It's like a C, I think. C- maybe. But that ability is really good. It'll let you draw later in the game, so it's good. It's fine early in the game. It's good later in the game. So, although in blue-red, I feel like there's going to be a lot of card draw anyways. So maybe not so good. I'll give it a C. I think it's a C. It'll find its place in an archetype somewhere. Coral Colony, 1 in a blue for a wall defender, 1 power, 4 toughness defender with the ability 1 in a blue, tap. Target player mills X cards, where X is the number of creatures you control with defender. So that's how you win with the defender deck. You get a lot of defenders and you get a few of these, you tap them at the end of your opponent's turn and mill them to death. That's cool. I think it's definitely gonna happen. It's a build around C+. 2 mana for a 1/4 defender is not bad either. So I'd say C. I'll give it a C. Coral Colony. Joint Exploration, 1 and a blue for an instant with kicker green. Scry 2, then draw a card. If this spell was kicked, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So it's ramp, 3 mana, instant, scry 2, draw a card. Put a land. So for 3 mana, replaces itself, and you get to ramp a little bit. If there's not much other ramp, I guess it's good. Mana ramp is always good. Other people think it's really good. 2 mana, scry 2, draw a card. I guess that's decent in and of itself. So the ramp is a bonus. Okay. Then I am going to follow along with the group and say it's good. C+. Founding the Third Path. 1 in a blue for a saga with read ahead. First chapter. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value 1 or 2 from your hand without paying its mana cost. Okay. Chapter 2. Target player mills 4 cards. Chapter 3. Exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Copy it. You may cast the copy. So, casting the copy, you still have to pay whatever the spell's cost is. But that's fine. You got it for free in the first chapter. And then your mana's back up. Start of your third turn. I think this is really good. Two mana. Cast a 2 mana instant. Or sorcery. During the draw step. No. That's not during the draw step. That's during your main phase. The mill is fine. It's, you know, nothing unless you're in a deck that wants to mill your opponent. Exile target instant sorcery card from your graveyard. So it doesn't have to be the 1 or 2 mana that you cast in the first chapter. It can be any instant sorcery card that you have cast during the game. So that is what makes this fantastic. Yes, this is really good. Okay, so I think this is a B+ saga. It basically lets you copy whatever your best non-creature spell is. Or, you know, whatever your best instant sorcery spell is. Yeah, I like this. B+. For founding the Third Path. Rona's Vortex, 1 blue with 1 blue instant with a 2 and a black kicker. Return target creature or planeswalker you don't control to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, put that permanent onto the bottom of its owner's library instead. Okay, so it's unsummoned for 1 blue. That was a good card. Instant speed, which is good. For 4 mana, you can put it on the bottom of the owner's library. That's really good. This is excellent removal. This is excellent removal. I think this is a B. Yeah, it's really good. Blue's looking great. Protect the Negotiators, 1 in the blue. With a white kicker. If the spell was kicked, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Otherwise, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 for each creature you control. I just had a quick question. Do they always put the kicker bonus before the base spell ability? Or is that intentional to let you make the soldier first? It's like it's an instant. And if it was kicked, you create the soldier, and then the target happens. So it's like two separate things. So you create the soldier no matter what, I think. For 3 mana. And then you counter target spell. Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely. So that's definitely how it works. Because the soldier adds to the cost your opponent must pay to fizzle this. Okay. So it's counterspell for 1 colorless, a blue and a white. Or just 1 and a blue. That's another great counterspell. What the fuck, man? It's really good. There's gonna be a lot of counters in this limited set that people are actually gonna play. I think there's a B- counter. It's instant speed, you get a blocker. Well, if you want. Can you play this and have it target itself? To just have a 3 mana 1/1 soldier creature blocker, chump blocker. That's my question. Do you need another spell on the stack to target, or can this target itself? Anyone know? Anyways, Protect the Negotiators gets a B- unless it can't target itself. C+ otherwise. Still a good counterspell. Frostfist Strider. 3 blue for a 4/4 elemental giant with ward 2. So it's like a Frost Giant from the current set from Baldur's Gate, except it's 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, though, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. That's quite good. That's very good. So this comes in, creature gets stun counter, the creature's still tapped when Frostfist Strider can attack. It's great. Very good. I give it a B. B-. B-. Final answer. Micromancer, 3 and a blue for a 3/3 human wizard creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an instant or sorcery card with mana value 1. With mana value 1, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Ugh. Mana value 1. Micromancer. 4 mana for a 3/3. If you have a 1 mana values, non-creature instant sorcery spell. This isn't good. I don't think this is very good. In fact, I think this is bad. I think this is a D+. Even a D. 4 mana for a 3/3 is not good. How many 1 mana instant sorceries do you think you're going to have in your limited deck? Regardless of whether you're blue or not. 2 at the most. So you better hope you get to play this before you draw those 2. You got a 50-50 chance. If you only have one mana spell, you have a 50-50 chance of drawing that spell before you draw Micromancer. So this is not good. I give it a D-. Essence Scatter. 1 and a blue for a instant counter target creature spell. Lots of counters, man. Lots of counters. This is a C-. You can only target creature spells. It's not bad. But yeah, C-. Sure Up. 1 blue. For an instant. This is the single mana value instance. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Untap it. Alright, so I see what's going on here. For like mono blue or heavy non-creature spell limited decks, this is a key player because this protects the small number of creatures you're actually playing in the deck. And it untaps it too. Okay. So this is like good for a build around. This is something you're building. You're using this to build around another key spell. You're shoring up your bomb with this spell. So nobody's gonna want this really, except, well, +1/+1 and hexproof and untap it. That's a pretty good trick, I guess, regardless. Alright, I think this is fine. This is probably a C, or if you're building around something that requires a few 1-mana spells, C+. Soaring Drake, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 flyer. Drake. And that's it. 2/3 flying Drake for 3 mana. Pretty boring. Not unplayable. That's like on curve stats, I think. So that's a C-. Soaring Drake. Tidepool Turtle, 3 and a blue for a 2/5 turtle creature with the ability 2 and a blue, scry 1. So 4 mana, 2/5. With a scry 1 ability. It's good. Definitely keeps you alive and churns through your deck. I think most blue decks will want this. 4 mana, 2/5, scry 1. I still give it a C. Just a C. Timely Interference, 1 blue for an instant with a kicker, 1 and a red. Target creature gets -1, -0 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, that creature blocks this turn if able. Draw a card. This creature gets -1, -0 until end of turn. If it was kicked, that creature must block. And it replaces itself, which is great. So you play this after blockers, it just reduces the blocker's power. Play it before blockers and kick it. They have to block that creature. And it replaces itself. It's not bad. I think. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know, man. I would give it a C. Maybe that's too high. Haunting Figment, 1 and a blue. For a 2/1 illusion creature with vigilance. 2/1 vigilance. It can't be blocked as long as you've cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. What's the point of the vigilance? I don't really get that. Anyways. 2/1 for 2 mana. Sometimes can't be blocked. It's like it gets get that Gith wizard, Githzeri something. C minus, B plus. Pixie Illusionist. 1 blue. Another 1 blue spell. Oh, it's a creature though. It's not an instant or sorcery. 1 blue for a 1/1 fairy wizard with a kicker 3 into green. It has flying, and if Pixie Illusionist was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it. So for 5 mana, it's a 3/3 flyer. And it has the ability, tap this creature. Target land you control becomes the basic land type of your choice until end of turn. That's a domain necessity. Wow, that's cool. All right. It's good early. It's good late. Activates domain. I mean, it's not good early. You can play it early. It's better late. If you need an early domain, it's good. I'd say C+. Palace Lookout. 2 blue blue. 2 and blue blue for a 3/2 flying human pirate. When it dies, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, the other no. So it replaces itself when it dies. It's 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer. And you get to choose which card replaces it. I'd say that's pretty good for a common. I think that's good. C+. Maybe even B-. Impulse, 1 and a blue is probably a reprint. 1 and a blue for an instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. The top 4 cards. Yeah, I think these cards tend to perform quite well. For limited, probably not as important. So probably a C, C+, something like that. For the archetypes that care about instant and sorceries, it's definitely going to be a good card. Okay, Academy Wall is next. 2 and a blue for a 0/5 wall with Defender, of course. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. I don't know. Maybe it's good. Churn through your deck with a, non-creature spell heavy archetype. I think it's a D+ otherwise. Fairly unexciting, but it does something. C-, D+, something like that. Negate, 1 and a blue. It's definitely a reprint. Yes. 1 and a blue for an instant, counter target non-creature spell. Meh. D+. Phyrexian Espionage. 2 and a blue. For sorcery with a kicker, 1 and a black. Draw 2 cards. If the spell was kicked, each opponent discards a card. So for 5 mana, you draw 2. Your opponent discards 1. That's a 3-card advantage. 2-card advantage. That's not bad. 3 mana, draw 2. That's playable. With the option of later in the game when your opponent has 1 card left in hand and you just need to know what it is before attacks, you kick this and they're screwed and you win. So I think this is pretty good. I think this is C+, at least. Voda Sea Scavenger. 2 and a blue for 3/2 Merfolk Rogue creature with domain. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the domain. You may put 1 of those cards on top of your library, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So you fix your next draw. Just remember to do that after you play any sort of library search spells. Otherwise, it's 3 mana, 3/2. The ability's decent. It definitely improves the quality of your next draw. I'd give it a C. Playable. Vosh Tide Turner. It's 1 and a blue, 1/3 Merfolk Wizard with the ability tap, add blue. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell or a kicked spell. Or a kicked spell. So you can cast creature spells with a kicker if you kick it. And you can use this mana to cast that creature. Huh. That's not bad. C. I give it a C. Solarian Terror. 6 and a blue for a 5/5 serpent creature. Costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So, and it has ward 2. 7 mana 5/5 is not good. 4 mana 5/5 with ward 2 is really good. So you get 2 instant sorceries by turn 4. And in your graveyard, I mean, within the first 3 turns, you play this on turn 4, and your opponent is sweating. Because they don't have the mana to remove it yet, because it's got ward 2. So this definitely gets a swing or 2 in before they have enough mana to remove it. I think this is probably a C+, B-. Definitely need to have the non-creature spells available to play, though. Solarian Geyser, 2 and a blue for a sorcery with a kicker of white. Return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. If the spell is kicked, you gain 3 life. So 3 mana, bounce a creature. Could be your opponent's, could be yours. And draw a card. The life gain is a bonus if you happen to be in white and it's later in the game. I think this is good. I think this is a C+ bounce spell. Impede Momentum. 1 and a blue. Sorcery. Tap target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. 3 is a lot. So you tap the creature down before you attack. You attack. It doesn't untap during their turn. It doesn't untap during their next turn. It doesn't untap during the 3rd turn. And by that time, you should have won. Right? That's pretty good. It's only sorcery speed, but it's 3 stun counters is a lot. I'd say this is almost premium removal. Oh, plus you get to scry 1. I think this is good. I give it a B, or B minus, for removal. I think a B. I think a B is a good grade. Impede momentum. It's a common. Yeah, that's going to see a lot of play. And that's it for blue. I'm going to take a 5-minute break because I've been talking through munching on my lunch. And I'll be right back.